BTCI, or the NEOS Bitcoin High Income ETF, is a rather new ETF that offers exposure to Bitcoin through a high income strategy, and at least up until this point has offered investors like myself, because I hold on to it, a ton of income on a monthly basis. But a lot of investors, for good reason, have some doubts about BTCI just because this ETF, at least as of right now, has a distribution rate of over 30%. Investors question, is this going to be sustainable? Is this ETF going to decay over time? And other questions like simply, how does this ETF even generate so much income? Well, in this video, we're going to go over this ETF. I have all the answers for you guys and more. So make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. My A to Z dividend investing ebook has helped countless dividend investors get started with their journey. And my custom dividend tracker that I'm constantly using here on the channel has also helped so many investors stay on track and allow them to see their dividend income in real time. Well, today I have another treat for you guys. I'm not only going to offer you my A to Z dividend investing ebook and the custom dividend tracker, but also just for a short limited time, I'm going to be adding in my brand new weekly dividend blueprint ebook to show you how you can get started with weekly dividend ETFs and add this into your investing strategy. This offer is not going to last long, so go ahead and click the first link down below in my description, and you're going to get both ebooks and the custom dividend tracker bundle. But like I said, please act fast because this won't be around for long. Now let's get back into the video. Now, even though I wouldn't consider myself much of a crypto investor, I actually have been buying some BTCI now for several weeks. I've been buying a small amount on auto buy on one of my smaller portfolios, and honestly my pile of BTCI is already stacking up pretty nicely. And let's be real here, it doesn't take all that much of a pile of BTCI to offer a ton of income generation with a 30+% yield. But just to go over some of the basics, this ETF's objective, it says right here, the NEOS Bitcoin High Income ETF, the fund seeks to generate high monthly income with the potential for appreciation based on exposure to an exchange traded product ETP that have direct exposure to Bitcoin. The ETF has been trading since late last year, so there is a decent amount of time for him to look at. But again, ETFs like these can be sort of confusing, so definitely stick around and I'll explain everything. Now heading into the fact sheet for BTCI, it says the NEOS Bitcoin High Income ETF seeks to generate high monthly income with the potential for appreciation based on exposure to ETPs that have direct exposure to Bitcoin. The total expense ratio is about 1%, and the ETF offers high monthly income generation, Bitcoin upside potential, and professional option management. Now, I think that products like these do have a good place in the market, especially for someone like myself that doesn't necessarily want to buy and hold on to Bitcoin, but wouldn't mind having some exposure to Bitcoin through a high income strategy. Because let's be real here, as a dividend investor, I don't really want to hold on to something that's ultra volatile, especially through a growth investment. But let's talk a little bit about how BTCI actually generates so much income, or at least has generated so much income since inception. If you look at the ETF that BTCI is utilizing here, it's the VanEck Bitcoin ETF, or HODL. And if we come over here and look at HODL's implied volatility, or IV, we can see that HODL currently has a 52.5 implied volatility, which is very high. Now, to give you an easy comparison, we all know that Nvidia stock, for example, is also rather volatile. I mean, compared to most things in the market, we would consider that, right? Nvidia stock has a 35.4 implied volatility, so HODL has almost double that, and this isn't even at the highest point that we've seen HODL over the past few weeks. So because Bitcoin, or HODL for this ETF's example, does have such a high implied volatility, there is the potential to generate a ton of income consistently as long as that implied volatility stays very hot. Now, as far as income generation goes, we talked about the 30+% distribution rate, and we're talking like $1.50 down to $1.25 as far as distributions over the past several months. Now, this means that even with a relatively small amount of money invested into BTCI, you could be earning several dollars per month in income, again, just based off the most previous payouts. Now, another important question a lot of investors have with income generating assets like BTCI or others is, how is this income going to be taxed? And right here on the NEOS website, it says supplemental tax information 19A-1 notices that give you worksheets for all the most recent payouts for BTCI. Now, clicking on May 2025, and keep in mind most of these payouts are very similar, it says in connection with the monthly dividend payment of $1.51 per share payable May 23rd, 2025 to shareholders of record May 21st, etc. It is anticipated that 97% of such dividend will be return of capital. They even give you a full breakdown of how the income is going to be taxed. But remember, this is all just to be estimated. You have to wait and see what happens in the future. But for the most part, NEOS has been pretty good about paying a boatload of income through their ETFs like BTCI or even SPYI and others. And they have been pretty good about giving us investors a massive amount of return of capital, which is definitely advantageous for those that are tax conscious. So up until this point, we understand what BTCI ETF is, we understand the exposure that it gives you, and we understand the fact that because HODL or Bitcoin is very volatile, there is the potential for massive amounts of income generation. Now, what's even more impressive though, is the fact that BTCI started trading around $50.51. This was back in October of last year, and as of right now, it's up significantly as far as price return goes. Now, I say this is impressive because an ETF normally that offers a 30% yield, you're probably not really going to expect to make all that much money as far as upside goes, but just like this ETF said in the objective, secondarily capital appreciation is going to be what this ETF is seeking. So the ETF is up around 17.5% more or less as far as price return goes. The ETF is offered around $1.50 to $1.25 per month in income. That's also relatively tax efficient. And the ETF gives dividend income focused investors exposure to an asset class that a lot of the world overall seems to be waking up to and all wanting more exposure to collectively. So for those reasons, like I mentioned, I have personally been adding a ton of BTCI to my portfolio every single day, still in smaller amounts compared to other ETFs like NEOS offers and others. But as time goes on, as long as the volatility stays there, I do personally think that we're going to see a nice amount of distributions coming from BTCI and other ETFs like this. Now, the last thing I think we have to look into is what is BTCI's total return since inception. This is dividends, this is price return, everything included all in one. Now, what's crazy is that BTCI has not even been trading all that long. We're talking since October, late October of last year. This ETF has offered a total return of sub 50%. Now, I know there's certain ETFs and stocks across the market that have also done this well, but in my portfolio, there's not that many names that have offered this sort of returns in this time frame. Now, again, Bitcoin, the underlying is volatile. It can go up and down in a very short notice. So again, take it all with a grain of salt. But at least up until this point, as of right now, this ETF has offered investors a massive total return. So now that we talked about BTCI, the NEOS Bitcoin High Income ETF, I lastly have a question for you guys down below. When it comes to BTCI, are you personally holding on to this one? If not, what other high income Bitcoin ETFs should I look into next? Let me know in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.